When I was younger, I wasn't really familiar with how women operated. More so because I think, as most guys do, we're focused on getting the girl as opposed to everything after you get the girl. You don't realize that women, whether we want to admit it or not, will deploy certain strategies against you as a man to get to her desired end goal. Now, one important thing to note is that just because a woman falls into one category doesn't mean that she can't also fall into multiple categories. Now, all these strategies are things you might need to know because, again, these things can be very relevant to you at one point or another. So, let's get started. And the first one I want to cover is the Trojan horse. The Trojan horse strategy is when a woman misrepresents her intentions to you in order to progressively lower your guard and attempt to spring a relationship on you or things that you may or may not be ready for. The trick lies in her ability to make you feel comfortable enough to where you don't exactly realize how she's positioned herself in your life, similar to how the real life Trojan horse strategy works. Now, the first phase is usually gaining your trust by creating a very comfortable environment, and it usually involves her saying things like, "We don't need a title. I'm not looking for anything serious right now. Oh no, no strings attached," things like that. The next stage is sort of her like springing questions on you and trying to get you to like steer in where she wants you to go or almost check your temperature on how you feel about the situation. Mostly in the form of like, what are we? Now, the phase three is when she pushes for commitment. And it just becomes one long game of demanding more, or again, she just starts suggesting things like, "Let's spend more time together. Let's be official. Why don't you post me on social media?" And it just keeps on going. This method is ultimately how a woman can gain control of the situation or the relationship and sort of create an environment where she is pulling you where she wants you to go. Now, for the men who are smart enough to spot the Trojan horse strategy and dodge it, sometimes there's going to be collateral damage. Sure, some ladies might walk away cleanly, but others not so much. No, she might throw around accusations like, "He's scared of commitment, he tricked me, he manipulated me, he wasted my time." All of these, even though she's probably the one who initiated and accepted these things. Essentially, she just thought she could get what she wanted out of you over time by getting you to comply slowly. Think of it as when a guy tries to get close to a girl so he gets into her friend zone and then like randomly one day he just like drops that he's in love with her and he wants to be with her and all this other stuff. Like it doesn't work out too well most of the time. I use this one first because it's probably the most common one you'll find, and it isn't just used in the beginning. It's also used throughout long-term relationships. A lot of guys get maneuvered by the Trojan horse strategy, and it usually always starts with one small concession. Next, we'll talk about the hitchhiker. And the hitchhiker is a chick who goes from place to place looking for someone to dump her baggage onto. Believe it or not, there are a lot of women out here who are very content with doing very stupid things from their 20s to their 30s and so on and so forth. Because ultimately, she believes that she won't have to worry about things in the future. She believes that her security will be found in her future relationships or even a marriage if she manages to get to that point. In her mind, the solution to her problems is never that she needs to do better. It's that somehow, some way, there is a man out there who is meant to solve all of her problems. Oftentimes you hear this rhetoric spoken as, "A man needs to take me as I am," "A real man does XYZ or blank thing that highly benefits her," or "I'm a woman. I don't need to bring anything to the table." Now, the key for the hitchhiker is that they are not looking for love. They're looking for help. And most of them aren't even good at hiding it. The dating market is flooded with women looking for a free ride or a lessened burden, especially financially after they've been ran through. Again, the key to hitchhikers is that they are looking for an uneven exchange. They bring the baggage, you carry the luggage. It's not about a fair exchange. It's not about trying to build anything with you. It's about convenience and utility. And finally, this one is a funny one. The strong and independent woman. The problem with strong independent women is that they make it their entire personality to flex and wave around traditionally masculine traits that they partake in. Now, you don't see men running around calling themselves hyper independent and strong and independent because they have a job, a house, and a car, and on top of it, constantly screaming about how they refuse to settle for less. But these types of women often take pride in doing these things, and they make it as difficult as possible for any man who gets around her. The default mindset is like, I don't need no man. A man needs to handle me. He gotta match my hustle. I don't want no roommate. I ain't doing nothing for no man. The energy is just off, and it often leaks into all her interactions. And this leads to them often saying that men are afraid of them or intimidated by them. It's so obvious, like when you see it, you know it. In my opinion, the biggest problem with strong and independent types is that they deploy this strategy of something I call selective traditionalism. Many of them expect a man to still adhere to traditional gender roles while removing themselves from set expectations of their supposed gender roles. For example, the 50-50 thing. A lot of these types of women will still expect a man to pay all the bills, be the personal chauffeur and the handyman and the doorman and things like that because he's the man and she's just the girl. So even though things are supposed to be equal, it's like it's offensive to expect them to be equal. Almost like a baked-in hypocrisy that the man should be doing more or bring more just because he's the man. Now, these are just the first three, but I probably have like 15 or 20 more just sitting around that I want to talk about. So I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to release the rest of these. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'll figure it out. Anyway, as a guy, I think if you pay attention close enough, you'll notice these traits like I said earlier on. But sometimes it's better to have it spelled out cleanly for you. Now, if you made it this far, appreciate you for watching. Drop a like and a comment below sharing your thoughts on the topic. My newsletter is below where I share notes like this straight to your inbox. And yeah, subscribe for more.